Thanks for joining us for Season 7 of the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded Hospitality share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, otherwise known as the Restaurant Guy.
And thanks for that introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Schatsy. Together, we are the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, food service, technology, innovation, and capital. And Jimmy, let me tell you, we've got a show today, baby.
You got a show.
Big show, great guests, super excited. Jimmy, I had a great weekend. I was out at the beach. The weather was great. I'm at the beach by myself because, my family doesn't want to hang with me. So I'm by myself at the beach, sitting there pondering. And all I could ponder was one thing. You know what I was pondering?
I'm going to guess. I'm going to take a shot. Whether your air conditioner was going to be fully blasting when you got home or not.
No, that's 67, 68 at all times, 24/7. No, Jimmy, I was pondering, where would an operator go to find all the best-in-class technology and innovative solutions to run their business today? Where would they do that?
I know.
Yeah. The Branded Marketplace. I say you got to go to brandedmarketplace.com. That's where you're going to find everything you need to run your business efficiently today with some of the most creative, incredible solutions. And I got to tell you, if you have a great solution out there, great tech, great innovation, great service provider, and you're selling into this space and you want to get on the marketplace, Jimmy, just email me, marketplace@brandedstrategic.com. We'll onboard you in minutes. Jimmy, thousands of operators have already used this. We have 500 companies on selling their incredible products. And do you know what it costs to be on the marketplace, Jimmy?
Very expensive. This has to be very, very expensive.
From what I just told you, and I mean, you know the price. I don't tell you. There's no baby formula. Gas is $8. I mean, yes, it would be very expensive, but it's free, Jimmy. Even in this time of inflation, we're still giving it away for free. 8.5% inflation. We have no inflation, Jimmy.
That's right.
No inflation.
We just give it away. How do we make money, Shaq?
We're still giving it away.
How do we make money?
Volume, Jimmy. Volume. You just keep giving it away. Eventually, our guest is going to tell us how you make money in volume.
Yes, he is. All right, let's jump into it because we really do. We have some hospitality royalty today. I'm not joking around.
100%.
Very excited for today's episode. Our guest is our friend Stratis Morfogen, founder of the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop. For our non-New York listeners thinking, what the heck is this Brooklyn Dumpling Shop? Let me tell you something, and I promise I'll even do something my attorneys would beg me not to do. I guarantee this is a brand that will soon be a household name across the country, as they have franchising plans for 500 units in the next 5 years. And if Stratis sounds familiar—
It was 5 months, Jimmy. Is it 5 years or 5 months?
It's 5. Let's give him a break. 500 stores, Shatz, 5 months. Even Stratis can't pull that off.
Stratis we're talking about here.
Listen, he is one of the most innovative names in the New York City hospitality scene, not just today, not just this decade, for decades. So with all that being said, Stratis,
He's 260 years old, but he looks great.
We'd love to have you take the lead. Please give us a little background about yourself and, of course, your pitch, and tell our listeners about the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop. The Brooklyn Dumpling Shop, please.
First, thanks for having me on. And wow, I hope I passed those beautiful introductional hierarchy terms. I mean, I'm very flattered by that.
Yes.
But anyway, thank you. Let me go back a little. For 17 years, I've owned Chinese restaurants, but I come from a Greek diner background where, my family was like that typical Greek family with like 14 different types of restaurants. Basically, from the womb, I've been doing restaurants. And basically, when the last 17 years I've owned Chinese restaurants, I had told my dad, who owned the Chelsea Chop Houses, one of our last conversations, and I said to him, I'm going to bring back the Chelsea Chop House. I don't know how I'm going to do it, and I don't know what the menu is going to look like, but I'm going to bring back my dad's brand from 1956 to 1985. So as I just sold my last Chinese restaurant, I said, when you go to a chop house, the menu is just hasn't really changed in 150 years since the Irish brought it to us in the 1850s. And they basically landed in Brooklyn, and there were about 11 chop houses. It became cream of spinach, baked potato, chop houses, shrimp cocktail, lucky if you get a lobster with some crab. And I said, you know what? When I go to a chop house or a steakhouse, which I love, my wife doesn't eat beef. And I saw that she was kind of having a hard time with it. And basically, that's how we created Brooklyn Chop House. I married Beijing Chinese food to an American steakhouse, and I made both cultures true to each other. And with that said, we created a concept of lobster, steak, and duck, LSD, salt and pepper, ginger, garlic lobster, prime dry aged steak, married with authentic Peking duck. And there's never been a table that's put that ultimate surf and turf all on one table, done right and done respectful to each culture. Make a very long story shorter, is that when we got down to the appetizer, I said, I don't want to do a burger at my chop house. I don't want to do French onion soup or lobster bisque at my chop house. I want to do zao bang. I want to do French onion soup dumplings. But traditionally, technical and methodically done like a Chinese restaurant. But the fillings will be diner classics like French onion soup in a dumpling. And then it came down to like, let's do a burger. Let's do bacon cheeseburger shumai. Let's do Philly cheesesteak. Let's do pastrami, the Reuben. When you make the Reuben dumpling, you're dipping it in Russian dressing, mustard with the pastrami. So everything that was once a sandwich, I converted it into a dumpling. So when we opened in 2018, we doubled our projections. The restaurant just went gangbusters, and everybody was ordering a bunch of dumplings. There you go.
Wow.
This is no joke.
For all you listeners out there who don't have video, we just got a big box of Brooklyn Dumpling Shop dumplings. Oh, wow.
This may be the best podcast I've ever had.
So to bring your question full circle, basically at that point, I said to my partners, I want to do a 2-ounce sandwich shop. And like, what the hell is a 2-ounce sandwich shop? I said, it's just let's go to peanut butter and jelly. Let's go to Tex-Mex. Let's go to chicken wings. Let's go, keep going. Let's do the bacon, egg, and cheese croissumpling, which we just got the trademark for, a croissant hybrid of a dumpling. Let's just make this into a sandwich shop. And this way we'll be creating we'll be reinventing and reimagining 2 subcategories, dumplings and sandwiches.
I love it. Hold on, Stratis,
It's unbelievable.
I want to give you something. Hold on, I have an idea for you. A tagline. Get ready for it. Dumplings reimagined.
Oh,
wow, that is
Jimmy. Jimmy, you've done it again, Jimmy. You've done it again.
You can have it.
Wow, that's
you can have it.
Priceless.
You can have it.
Listen, Stratis, no charge for Jimmy's first idea.
My gift to you.
Idea.
Did you look at the box?
Oh my God, it's on the box.
Jimmy, he knocked you off. Jimmy, he knocked you off already.
See, in the digital age, everything's fast when I'm going to knock something off.
Listen, before we take a deeper dive into what you're doing at the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop, there's a lot to get into because you really are a legend here in New York. I mean, hospitality, as you said, it runs really deep in your blood. Your family is Greek. Years and years since you were making you had Greek diner ideas when you were in the womb back in 56 or whatever year it was.
67.
I mean, but 57, but
67.
67. In 67, you were doing things.
What are the guy?
67. But I mean, your grandfather was a restaurant operator. I mean, you go back a long time. Let's take a deeper dive and get a little bit more. I mean, you brought the Fulton Fish Mark, the famous Fulton Fish Marker, online in 1997. You were the founder of, a New York staple. Jimmy Knight, Philippe Chow. That was, I don't know how many stores you had, but they were all over the place. And that was unbelievable. We loved that. And now you're an author. An author writing books. I just saw you. I don't know, it was a poster somewhere. I just saw you're a famous author now. How has all this experience gotten you to the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop? Tell me how this has all helped you create this empire you're building.
Well, I got to tell you, I have severe ADHD. I am
Wait, what?
Severe ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, it's an asset. I'm glad I was one of the few that never got medicated. And as a business owner of multi-businesses, I got to tell you, it's an asset where you can multitask at a very high level. So with that said, yeah, my grandfather had the first Greek restaurant in New York from 1910 to 1975. My father had about 14 restaurants from 56 to 2005. I grew up in this business. And when you grow up in this business, my dad did everything. He had a truck where he'd go to the Fulton Fish Market and he'd exchange weeks with his brother, his partner. And I remember at 6 years old, like I say in my book, Be a Disruptor, I remember my mom saying, hey, I was about 7, 8 years old at the time, said, I'm going to take your brother and sister to Disney World this week. And I was like, no. Dad's got the truck this week. I'm staying. I'm going to the Fulton Fish Market because that was my Disney World. And what I learned in the Fulton Fish Market, you're just not going to teach in a school. I was a really sharp 6 to 10 year old where I was around street crime. I was around the mobsters. I was around the whole hustle and bustle of the Fulton Fish Market. And my father didn't hide it from me. And I believe that was one of the greatest things he did for me, because he really grew me up quickly and basically showed me the real world at a very early age. So then when you marry all that in, I'm hanging out with Ali Shades Mangano, who's the head of the Genovese's running the Fulton Fish Market, and I'm calling him uncle, and we're sitting around the fire with a bunch of capos and this and that. And I'm 6 to 10 years old. Oh, and I saw a guy that didn't pay his $80 for his truck, and the guy who's collecting the money on Dougherty Street pulls out an ice pick and puts it in every one of his tires. I'm seeing this between 6 to 10 years old. Oh, and by the way, the cops that used to come to my school and tell me about the righteousness, they're standing right there watching the tires be popped. And I'm just like looking at all this, and I'm saying, wow, when the police came to my first grade class, they didn't tell me that they stood by and watched this stuff happen. So I was learning real world, and I was learning it quickly. And I got to tell you, for the last, I went into nightclubs, I went into restaurants. I've had about 40 restaurants on my own. And I got to tell you, for the last 20 years, people are saying, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. And this is what I did with Skyhorse, Simon & Schuster. I wrote Be a Disruptor, because I just realized I've disrupted everything in my life.
I love it. And again, as soon as you mentioned the Fulton the Fulton Fish Market, as soon as you mentioned your age, I knew you were going to say the word hustle. I knew it was going to be a hustle, because all of that was grit, all of that was hustle, and how real it was. I love the incredible story. To our listeners, I said at the top of the show, we are among some real restaurant royalty today, and also Stratis is one of the most authentic people you're going to meet. Shatsy as well, but Shatsy, I like to say, and here's what Shatsy and Stratis have in common. Both go with basically one name. Shatsy's like Madonna or Cher. Stratis is like, Prince or Elvis. That's how I see it. But either way, it's a one name.
Stratis is Elvis and I'm Cher. Okay.
I call it like I see it, Shatsy. All right.
Thanks,
Something I know about you is that you are a true disruptor, and the book, it could not be more on point. Something you've lived and breathed your entire life. So let's kick off a conversation and talking about how you're disrupting the dumpling industry by bringing back the automat movement. And for our younger listeners, automats were a turn-of-the-century dining establishments. There was a wall of coin-operated cubbies that contained hot foods and beverages behind glass. They provided quick and delicious meals to hundreds of thousands of diners a day at low prices, thanks in part to the waiterless or waitless service. Sound familiar? Waitless service? All right, Stratis, all you, baby.
Yeah, it's funny. The first words you just said were very important. You said the dumpling industry. Well, there is no dumpling industry. And that's why we were creating our own lane. That's what's incredible about this, is that dumplings are loved by everybody, but there's not one group or there's not one lane that's been created. Everything else has been over explained. Burgers, pizza, Mexican, everything has been so overly explained. But dumplings and dumplings,
I think the Jews call it kreplach.
Yeah, and you know what? That was a great hit, because every nationality has a dumpling. They have something with carbohydrate wrapped around a protein. That's basically what it is, from pierogies to baklavas to everything else. Every culture has a dumpling, but it's amazing to me that we walked into a completely untapped market. And like you said, with the packaging that we've done, we've reimagined dumplings and we've reimagined sandwiches, because we've combined the two. And that's where Brooklyn Dumpling Shop was created. And in regards to the automat, I learned that 7 out of 10 restaurants fail within 3 years. Number one reason is excessive payroll. I knew with driverless cars, it was time to bring the consumer the control of their ordering by their smartphone. And that's what we did. We allowed that TikTok generation, 13 to 30, because that's how they live. They live on their phone. Why not give a restaurant that speaks to them? And that's what we did with Brooklyn Dumpling Shop, and reinventing the automat. Because the automat, like you said, you dropped a few coins in at Horn and Hardart. You had to go wait to get change. I also wanted to realize why the automat failed in the 70s. And basically, technology failed the automat, and now technology is bringing it back.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks for that. And I got to tell you, so you may be the most tech-forward operator we've had so far. And I got to tell you, it's incredible, because, you're like us. You're an old-school operator, old-time operator. No disrespect, but we're of the same age. We've been in the business a long time. but yet you are so forward thinking that this dumpling shop, your Brooklyn dumpling shop, correct me if I'm wrong, 0 employees to operate day to day with regards to the interaction with the guests, 24-hour contactless ordering in these lockers that are heated for pickup. You can get a customer in and out of there in like 30 seconds. So just walk me through this. Walk our listeners through this. How does a store operate? And who's making these dumplings at 2 o'clock in the morning?
So the beauty of it is the people that have tried to reincarnate the automat have failed. And the reason why they did is they made the whole restaurant one wall-to-wall automat. And they didn't have the technology. These were more like Amazon lockers, and Amazon lockers don't compete with what we're doing. So what we did was make it half automat and half glass kitchen. So now the consumer, especially in these days and times, they want to see that kitchen being spotless. They want to see that everybody's wearing their gloves and their hats and their facial wear and everything is done properly, because the automat can give people anxiety when they don't know how the food is being done behind them. So we've made every Brooklyn dumpling shop half automat, half glass kitchen, with the dumpling machine right in front of you on the other side of the glass kitchen being made in front of you. So everything is still cooked to order. And what's beautiful about this is that the only reason why I have a greeter in the front, and that's one greeter, is because we do serve alcoholic beverage. We have to double check IDs. And the other reason is I double check on sanitary. I make sure the tables and the floors and the garbage and all that's handled. But another reason is like the 35 and over crowd, which really walk in and think, wow, they get quite intimidated. They say, do I need an MIT degree to just get a meal or get a snack? And the truth is the greeter will be right there and say, hey, come on, first time here, let me show you how this works. And then we've had incredible feedback on people that said they had 1 foot out the door. They didn't want to stay. One 60-year-old woman told me. And she said, when the greeter showed me how to do it, I got to tell you, I've been to a Chipotle, McDonald's, and a Starbucks in the last 6 weeks. And I've been to your shop 5 more times. And I will tell you, I can't look at a cashier the same way. We shouldn't have cashiers in our industry the same way we shouldn't have toll booth clerks on highways.
Jimmy loves the toll booth.
I love waiting online for the toll booth. Yes, wait online.
And just add, and we shouldn't have umpires behind home plate.
Ooh.
It should be all high tech.
That's a good argument there. I got to tell you. So listen,
that's a whole other podcast there.
Oh, by the way, there is some argument there. Set the strike zone. Let's go. Let the you don't have umpires at the U.S. Open anymore in the tennis lines. But I digress. All right, not to play devil's advocate here, but the real fear among at least some, if not maybe many, restaurant employees is that their jobs will soon become obsolete with the rise in technology and robots. But I know your stance. I'm basically throwing it to you. That you're actually saving jobs. Please share your thoughts on this, my friend.
So I just spoke at the MERTEC conference in Vegas for over 1,000 people. And one guy took the mic and stood up and said, look at this yuppie asshole stealing jobs. And then the commentator, the moderator.
Who was the yuppie asshole?
Yeah, that was me.
Sorry.
I love being called a yuppie at 54 years old.
I was going to say,
cool. That is the ultimate. I said, the moderator's like, hey, no profanity. Hey, I go, no. Allow it, because I'm humbled that he's calling me a yuppie. And
I agree.
And I could take the criticism, because what he's saying, there's 100 more thinking it. So let me answer it, because obviously this person is not in the restaurant industry. So I don't even know how he got here to the MERTEC conference, but let me answer it. I had to get a little shot in on him.
Yeah, jag in there, yeah.
So I said, very simple. 7 out of 10 restaurants fail within 3 years. The number one reason is payroll, excessive payroll. I didn't create the automat for safety. I created for economics and efficiencies. And the reason why these businesses go out, because the average payroll is 32 to 35%. It even goes higher if you're not hitting your numbers. And with that will take you out of business very quickly. Can you imagine having, like, the reason why 7-Elevens don't go out of business? They got one person in the back and they can run the whole place. But can you imagine that there's a Brooklyn dumpling shop that's not doing the numbers or what have you, or marginally breaking even? That dumpling shop is not going to go out of business with a 15% payroll. It's not going to go out of business. So I said to them very clearly, if 7 out of 10 restaurants are failing because of 30 to 40% payroll, and we have a method, and it's proven now, it's not just hype, that you can bring this down to 14 to 18%, you got a chance of not just surviving, but thriving.
Thriving, yeah, 100%.
And remember this, it's Food Institution Magazine, it's a statistic. For every one food job that's lost, there are 10 other industries that lose a job. Think about it. When you lose a job at a restaurant, 10 other people lose their job, from the vendors to the shoe shine guy.
The whole flywheel.
It's a horrible trickle down.
Yep.
Horrible. But 10 people for every one food job get lost. So if you do this math, and you can see now possibly 7 out of 10 restaurants have a chance at success, we've not just saved a restaurant or a restaurateur, we've saved an industry and we've saved jobs. And everything was crickets and everybody clapped their hands and it was case closed.
100%. So listen, let's talk about creating jobs. Let's talk about your franchising plan. Because we had Dan Rowe, who from FranSmart, a founder and CEO of FranSmart, who we had on the show just a couple weeks ago. And for those of you who don't know who Dan is or missed it, Dan is one of the, I think Stratis, I think you called him the Forrest Gump of franchising, because he just knows what a good idea is. He is really.
And he called me the Willy Wonka of dumplings to the Wall Street.
And I got to tell you, I like it. That's why you guys are good together. He is really, a franchising guru. He's done so many franchises. It's hard to list them right now. But you are now franchising the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop. And by the way, franchising is a great way. You are literally creating jobs and helping people create jobs with franchising. We think it's just fantastic. So let's just talk a little about this. That you opened your first shop, I think was it last year, right?
Well, we basically were trying to open January, February of 2020, but then Comrade Cuomo shut everything down.
Right.
And then we had to basically got delayed about 2 years.
But so now you've got your store open, and now you have in contract, you're on track to open 125 Brooklyn dumpling shops by 2023. You have 50 signed agreements, or you had 50 signed agreements before you even opened the store. That's unbelievable. So when you talk about creating jobs and building something, you're doing it. So let's talk a little about your franchising plans, where you're going, what cities. When I saw you, you said you just came back from approving 30 or 40 sites. Tell me a little bit about it. Where are you going?
Yeah, so we were probably the only restaurant in the industry that's sold 50 franchises before I opened store one, which came as a huge surprise to me because our plan was to open 3 shops, do the traditional, prove out the business model, then go to the franchise market. But the cart got in front of the horse on this because the technology was so exciting. And then at the end of the day, they could taste the dumplings at Brooklyn Shop House. So the new franchisees would come because the technology was set up very early on. So they would test the technology knowing that we weren't open, but we were just waiting for COVID and all the mandates to stop. And then after that, they would go to Chop House and try the dumplings and say, okay, I'm in. And we were signing franchises just like that. And our model right now, because again, there's a lot of COVID delays and supply chain breaks. So right now we're planned to open 1 dumpling shop every 3 weeks for the year 2022, 2 a week in 23, 24, and 25. We'll probably get up to 3 a week. And that's where we're at with growth. We have
Jimmy, quick math. Jimmy, what does that add up to? Quick math.
A lot of stores.
We're going to have either in contract, in development, or open stores I'd say by 2027, we'll have 500 in play, which will basically be open, in development, or contracted, because that's what it looks like. And hopefully we don't have any more of this, dictatorship type shutdowns again, where one person could come and shut down an economy without going to any legislative body. But that's a whole other show.
That's a topic for another
podcast. There would be no umpires in baseball, too. By the way, I think that's breaking news, Jimmy. This has got to be one of the fastest growing franchise brands ever. This is bigger than Jiffy Lube, Jimmy.
By the way, that's why Stratis is Elvis, and you're Cher.
And I'm Cher.
You're Cher. All right, I'm just kidding. Calling it like I see it.
I love glitter. I love glitter.
You do love glitter, Chatsy.
I've been called worse.
I'm going back. I'm going to bring the conversation back to disruption, and specifically, what's next for Brooklyn Dumpling Shop? I know you have renderings for both a 150 square foot kiosk and a 5-lane drive-through. If developed, these formats will operate without human contact. Can you give us a little verbal preview of how you see this working?
Yeah, we're simultaneously, we just developed the drive-through. It's basically a 5-car carport. You order by using your phone. You don't speak to anybody. Now the footprint is about 600 square feet instead of the usual 2,500 square foot drive-in. Customers don't go inside, but like the rendering shows you, customers can take their dumplings now that the automat is positioned like an ATM machine on the short side of the rectangular building. On the two sides, the buildings will, the cars will go to the left and the right of the building, scan their phone with QR codes, get their stuff and go. And they haven't spoken to one human being. And our projections show that we could have less than 3 employees in a 600-foot spot doing up to 500 to 1,000 cars in a 24-hour period.
I love it, Stratis, because I got to tell you, I never like human beings. I've never once liked. I've never liked them.
My daughters agree with you.
Yeah, so the idea of not having, I mean, my kids with it, the idea of them not speaking to anyone, not seeing anybody, that is just music to their ears or music to their mouth, however you want to say it. Unbelievable. You really are a disruptor. Listen, you said a lot. I got to tell you, for many guests we've had on the show, that would be it. That would be enough because you just said so much. I mean, you've done so much. But there's more. There's more.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. There's more. You just came out with a book. That's what we wanted to touch on, a book. So it's not just a Brooklyn dumpling shop. Be a disruptor. Streetwise lessons for entrepreneurs from the mob to mandates. You just came out with this book. I understand it's selling like crazy. I understand movie rights are in the works right now with perhaps Jimmy or I playing Stratis, a young Stratis. We don't know. We'll see. But I got to tell you, all sincerity.
Clooney's going to play Stratis.
I mean, you were talking earlier. It sounded a little bit like Goodfellas. I just watched on Paramount Plus The Offer, the making of The Godfather. I mean, I got to tell you, we should definitely get a movie, but let's talk a little about the book. Where can I get the book? How'd you come up with the idea? Who wrote it? Did you write it? Was there a ghostwriter? Talk to us.
Yeah, no, I teamed up with Tony Lyons at Skyhorse and Simon & Schuster. And like I said previously, that for the last 20 years, because I've been around celebrity, I've been involved with mob-related partners.
Mob sells, am I right? Mob sells.
Yeah, and that's why everybody said to me, you should write a book, because no one's ever taken the perspective of, when you talk about the mob and all that. I told John Gotti Jr. and the rest of them to go fuck themselves because I wasn't afraid of them in 1993. But you know what? I also had the head of the Genoveses as the guys in my back pocket. And the bottom line is I was untouchable because back then, Gotti Jr. crew would shake down every restaurant that sold alcohol. And there was no feds or cops to help you. But, so you had to do what you had to do to survive. And that came in the friends like a Ralph Coppola was the underboss of the Genoveses. He was my uncle, adopted uncle. He called me nephew. I called him uncle. And every time these guys tried to shake me down from Gotham Diner to Rouge Nightclub, well, they got an answer. And the answer wasn't what you're going to get in a court system. It was hammered out on the streets. And with that, you know what? It felt good to have that kind of protection in my back pocket because I came from a legitimate family, hardworking immigrant family. I've never been arrested. But you know what? I had them as my friends and they were my protectors pre-Giuliani because there were no one there to protect us. So everybody has said since then, and with all the celebrity stuff that happened in my past, everybody said, you got to write a book. No one's ever told a story like this. And then finally, Simon & Schuster and Skyhorse jumped on and said, it's time to write your book. If you ask my old Greek father who's no longer with us, he would just say, I'm stubborn and hard-headed. But stubborn and hard-headed, the new word for that is disruptor. And that's where I wrote Be a Disruptor.
I like it a lot. And
now I'm thinking Clooney, not Jimmy for the young Stratis.
I went with Clooney. I got to tell you, I see a little Bronx tale here, but again, from a very different perspective.
Ooh, then we get a little De Niro in there, maybe for Stratis' grandfather. Yeah. You like what I'm doing there?
Thank God, grandfather. Thank God.
Aha, I see. All right,
like
Stratis. We're gonna shift gears a little bit. It turns out that while Schatz and I started the podcast because we love to talk to people, and no one likes talking more than Shatsy.
Stratis talks pretty good too.
Me too.
It's good. We learned along the way that sometimes our guests have questions for us. So let's kick off Talking Back, where we offer the microphone to you, our friend, our guest. Nothing's off the table. The microphone is yours.
I already got my answers to my questions. My questions are not everybody can handle the truth. Now there's not too many restaurateurs that will come out and say, I was partners with the mob. I was partners with the NBA types too. I was also involved with politics, fighting these politicians the last 2 years. And it's nice to have a platform where I don't need to be anything, because everybody knows I'm not politically correct. But you don't need to have someone that's politically correct walk up here and be, what can I say? What can I say? And kudos to you guys for allowing that open forum where anything can be said as long as it's the truth. And that's what I'm about. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, we and thank you. We pride ourselves. We like to tell our investors, our stakeholders, our friends, our network, the community we're building is that we will pride ourselves on being unfiltered and direct. We will do our best to also be, of course, professional and respectful in the environment that we're in. We are investment managers. We're running an investment platform. We also run a whole bunch of 25 restaurants here in New York City. But most importantly, we want to be direct and unfiltered. Sometimes our job, and I know it's not a nice thing to do, but sometimes we have to tell people they have an ugly baby. Someone's got to say it. If
I
they
always
do,
let Jimmy do that.
yes, Jesse lets me do that. But sometimes an investment is just not right. Sometimes the CEO, made a bad decision, and candidly, decisions, mistakes, bad decisions. They're just you make the best decision you can at the time that you're making it with the information you have available to you. It's easier to call that a mistake, but it's not a mistake. It's just you made the best decision you could at the time you made it. And by the way, we make mistakes, missed on some investments I wish we'd have done. But at the end of the day, I think the unfiltered, I think the honesty, I think being direct is what most people want. I think some people are uncomfortable. They think it's confrontational. It's not confrontational. Just be assertive, express yourself, but be honest. And I think Stratis, you and I will say, I've said Schatz is one of the most authentic people that I've had the privilege of knowing for decades. And ever since I met you through this journey, I felt that similarly, you're a very authentic, real person. And I appreciate it because you're gonna get it straight. And on this podcast particularly, you're sharing it straight. So thank you for that.
No, like I said, part of my book is not just to show success stories. My book also talks about failure, not to be ashamed of failure, because there's no path to success without failure, and they don't teach that. They don't teach that in
Yes.
universities. They teach you, and I'll just add to this. They teach you to get a job in your 20s, retire in your 60s. Well, that was written in 1902 when life expectancy was 60 years old. I just taught a class at Lehigh, and I said to the young kid who said, "My parents just spent 200 grand on my education, and I don't know what I want to do." And I said, and you know what? You're coming from an education where you probably have $150,000 in debt, and they don't even have 25 grand for you to do a startup. All of this is fucked up. And tell your parents, here's my lesson to you that you learned today. Here's my lesson to you at 22. I want you to fuck it up in your 20s. I want you to fail. I want you to continuously to take high risk. And then I want you to fix it in your 30s. Start making money in your 40s and then retire in your 80s, because that's the real deal in these times, not in 1902.
Do you get married in this plan? Is there marriage in this plan?
A few times, yeah, like me.
You got at least 4 times to get it right.
Of course. Three's a charm.
All right, listen, I want to move into our crystal ball moment, a chance where we ask all our guests to put on their Kreskin and Miss Cleo hat and predict the future. Stratis, how do you see restaurants and dining? I actually think I know which way you're going to take this, and I'm going to agree with you.
Let's hear it.
But how do you see restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to hospitality and technology?
Well, I got to tell you, as I jumped up and down in 97, telling all my fellow restaurateurs that you need to take this thing called the web seriously. Well, a lot of them got exposed during COVID when they didn't even have an online platform. They didn't have social media. They didn't have any of this. Unfortunately, and it hurts me to say it because I'm not politically correct and I'm brutally honest, is that the hospitality industry has always been late to the tech game, and we always get exposed. And it just behooves me. Why? Why do we want to have cashiers? Why do we even, when you have a 6-person kitchen, there are robotics for the fryer. Why do you want to pay $25 an hour to drop a fryer for 4 minutes and lift it? There's robotics for that. There's also technology for inventory management, where do you know how great it's gotten? And we're just applying it now, where if you change the price of oregano before Cisco delivers the oregano, it changes your food cost before it's delivered. That's the kind of software that's out there that takes away the burdensome of high payroll. But unfortunately, and I hope to God I'm so wrong, but again, hospitality will be late to the NFT game, the metaverse game, and embracing technologies to make their models more efficient and more effective, and in turn, leaving bigger profits for the people that invested in you.
You are spot on, and obviously you left Jimmy speechless, which is, you can't leave Jimmy speechless.
It was perfect. It was so Perfect. In fact, I'm inspired, Chats. You know what? Stratis inspired me. You and I should launch an investment platform dedicated solely to food service and hospitality tech and innovation.
Okay,
Jimmy,
so
I love this idea you have. Aha!
This will be the first time I've spoken about it. I'm at the final print for a Shark Tank Meets the Profit called the DISRUPTOR.
Yes.
And we're almost signed on, and it's most likely going to be on a major network. And that will be a show where consumer advanced products and food tech companies of hospitality, of retail, like restaurants that want to embrace technology, we fund them on 4 rounds. And basically, we go through the whole 4 rounds with them all the way to a liquidity event.
Nice. I love it. And that's breaking news. Jimmy, is that breaking news?
That is breaking news.
DISRUPTOR.
It's not done yet.
Starring Stratis from the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop.
And my co-star is legendary too. So it's getting really close to announcement.
Well, Stratis, I don't know if I can do it. I have to check my schedule. I appreciate you thinking about that. I am legendary. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. I have to check my calendar. But I think we'd be great. I think we'd be a great team, you and me. And we can bring Jimmy on there too. I like it. You, Jimmy, the DISRUPTOR on NBC coming this fall. I love it. Is it NBC?
I didn't say that.
NBC.
I didn't say it.
Jimbo, we are breaking news.
I need to know why you said that.
It was all over your face. It's written all over your face. Are you kidding me?
It's not done yet.
It could be ESPN. It could, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
All right, but listen, this is great. We got one more segment to get through here. Stratis, it's the branded quickfire. Like the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop is the hottest franchise in the country right now. Branded quickfire is the hottest segment. Everyone loves it. I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. Don't think too hard. First answer that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite dumpling flavor?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
Oh, that's a good one. Parmigiana in Southampton.
Oh, nice.
Love that. What is your favorite food city in the world?
I gotta say, tied with Dallas and Austin, Texas.
Ooh. Interesting. Where's your favorite place to travel?
Greece.
If you were to challenge Jimmy Rye to a classic backyard barbecue egg spoon race. Barbecue egg spoon race? What's the barbecue egg spoon race? Is it just an egg spoon race?
Well, barbecue eggs. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, who do you have better odds of beating?
Out of you two?
Yeah.
I think you're both going to take me down on this one. But when it comes to, I don't know. I got to see you guys a little bit more mobile. I'm a good competitor, but that's not my lane.
I think I'm going to win, Shats, because while Stratis admits to having some, let's say, ADHD issues, and I know you have ADD, and I'm not making light of those issues. Those are real issues. I think both of you would lose interest in this game, be off going somewhere else. You get distracted.
I think we'd be making a left, and you'd be going straight.
I'd be going straight. I'm like,
I'm going to Shats go. Where's Stratis? Where did you guys go?
We fell in the pool.
I think I would win this, and which one of you guys are getting the silver medal at this point, we don't know. Stratis, we want to thank you so much for literally coming on the show, sharing your great insights. It's really fun to have you with us, to have someone who's been doing this for really as long, even longer than we have, and the stories that you have, and I can't wait to read the book, and I can't wait to see the show on the Ocho. That it'll appear your show on the Ocho. Shatsy had no idea what he was talking about, but listen, we really do appreciate everything you're doing for this industry, not just during this challenging time, but always, and you've done it for decades. To our listeners, if you want to get in touch with Stratis directly, you can email the podcast team at podcast@brandedstrategic.com. We'd be happy to make the introduction. To our listeners, as always, this doesn't work without you. It doesn't work without Shats and me. It doesn't work without our guests, but it doesn't work without you. And with that in mind, we very much want to show our appreciation. We know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and the fact that our subscriber base continues to grow is something we appreciate. Please join us next week as we welcome our guest. Yes, the former governor, Mr. Cuomo himself. Governor Cuomo will be here on the next podcast. I'm kidding because we don't know.
He's going to talk. He's going
I
to
was going
talk
to say
to
you better have me on because boy oh boy that will break all podcast records because I will debate Comrade Cuomo.
I threw that in there just for you, Stratis.
You see my face?
Yes, you went nuts. What?
I was like,
Comrade Cuomo's going to be on?
And you're not going to invite me?
And finally, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our podcast. So you don't miss out on any of the exciting guests we have coming up. So again, this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, with appreciation to Stratis and everything you're doing with the industry. And I'll pass it back to my boy Shachi to close this out.
Thank you, Jimmy. And Stratis, just for our listeners, be a disruptor. Streetwise lessons for entrepreneurs from the mob to mandates. How do we get the book?
Every major online bookstore. We have an exclusive right now with Amazon, but now it's going into from Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble. It's everywhere.
All right. Well, listen, all you listeners out there.
Audiobook, Kindle, and hardcover.
Who reads the audiobook? Is that you or who do we got?
I got to tell you, audiobooks are huge, especially with the elders. They love the audiobook.
Well, I encourage everybody to get that book because Stratis has got some incredible stories. Don't wait for the movie to be coming out on Netflix next year starring George Clooney. And this is Shatsy, a.k.a. Restaurant Guy, signing off. Thanks, everybody. Hospitality Hangout. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.